The Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon is brought to you by Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. Built to look good and be tough. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Channel Island Sport Fishing. Offering deep-sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats. And more. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. The Latino Business Expo, Ventura County's largest networking event. Special thanks to Bruce at Kirby Subaru in Ventura. It's the Real Angler Show, live here on Rough Edge FM. And now, here's your host, Kevin Brannon.
Good morning, Scott. You want to do the intro?
It is the Real Angler Show with Kevin Brannon and his guest, Jacquelyn. I got that right, didn't I?
You did.
Gargano?
Gargano.
I was so close. Anyway, Barry and all of us welcome you to the podcast.
Welcome to the studio.
Take it away.
Yeah, so some of this feature at the Real Radio, we're kind of calling like a business boardwalk talk because we have the boardwalk that goes behind us, and that was an idea that we had because it's not always going to be about fishing on our podcast with our guests. So we want to talk about business. Today we're going to talk a little bit about nonprofit with Jacquelyn here that is with the Ronald McDonald house, right? No, room.
The family room over at VCMC.
The VCMC, which is the Ronald McDonald room, family room here. And then you seen when we did an interview at Bass Pro Shops, we were with the gentleman out there that did the Ronald McDonald house, and they were raising funding for all that. And that's when I really got to hear more about the Ronald McDonald house versus the room, but the same idea of how it works and nonprofit. And we're going to talk today about maybe some people's different opinions or views about nonprofit, the beast of nonprofit with as a model, different styles that they approach versus what we approach. So we kind of started talking about this the other day when we and wanted to invite her in. She's seen Ashley's podcast, right, that we did last week.
Yes, from the Chamber of Commerce here in Ventura.
Yeah, so she reached out and said, I want to do it, and we really want to keep guests coming in. So we switched Adam Casillas out for a week, and we got Jacquelyn here, but we've also had Jacquelyn come in to talk to some of my staffing about nonprofit, just because of the simple fact that people, I think, have a different opinion what nonprofit looks like. So we're going to spend some time talking about that in your history. So again, welcome to the show today, Jacquelyn.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Good friend of ours, and we also cross paths on Fun with HR. So we see each other some Saturdays that we see each other at the radio station, learning about HR, and they're really supportive of our organization, Rogue Guppy Outdoors, and your organization too.
Yes.
So
we're both all over the place, just networking for our organizations here in Ventura.
Yep. So and you are the pioneer founder of this room, right? You're the first director for this particular one, or was there one before you?
So before me, it was all of the capital campaign. So it was the original fundraising to do all of the construction within VCMC, and Amy Towner and the Healthcare Foundation really headed that up. And then when we opened our family room space in 2022, I took it on, opened it, got all of the volunteers ready to go, and then started on the funding. Tell people exactly what it is that you guys do. It's a really neat what goes on, so people have more of a understanding of what it is. So people are familiar with the Ronald McDonald houses. We are a Ronald McDonald family room. We have 2 separate rooms in Ventura County Medical Center, about 2,500 square feet in there. Our main room is really designed to bring all of the amenities of a house directly into the hospital. We have a kitchen, we have a living space area, we have workspaces, kids play area, and then we have a respite room, quiet room for the family. So any family that has a child being treated here in Ventura County at the hospital are going to be spoiled by us.
Cool. So, what do you mean, like, treated? Like, is it like surgery? Is it big? Is there a criteria, or any kid that's getting treatment, or is there a certain type of criteria that fall under where you guys take the cart and the amenities and stuff like that? Is it any?
It's really any kid. So on the hospital side, we have pediatrics ICU, and neonatal ICU. So all of those families can come down and enjoy our space. We also launch our hospitality cart on those spaces as well. Then next door to us, we have the clinic side. So we have the Pediatric Diagnostic Center and Cancer center for blood diseases.
Yeah, so it's a lot. So
it's
just
to
kind of
doctors.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to open that up so if it's something like your kid's coming in for junior, from like my son broke his arm, we took him in there to get a cast or something in and out. That's a little different, right? Is this more people that are staying at the hospital
It's really both. So I actually just had one of my sponsors come in. His son got hit in the head with a baseball at his high school game, so he had to have emergency surgery done. Whoa. We have our cancer kiddos. We have kids. RSV and flu is very common during the winter, and then any other trauma that happens in the county. In October, this past October, we became the only pediatric hospital in the county. So any kid that's getting hurt or sick in Ventura, they're coming to us.
Okay. The reason I asked that because the way that the guy said it, and just to clarify people that are listening, when he was talking about the one out there in Rancho, was like it seemed like there were people that were in like an extreme crash or something, just as a scenario, and the people were out of work for a couple of days or something and needed a place to stay while their child was at the hospital. So that's why I was just asking more clarity.
Yeah, so each program is partnered with a different hospital. I'm not exactly sure where Inland Empire is partnered with, but I know for our Los Angeles house, they're partnered with CHLA, Children's Hospital Los Angeles. So families are traveling from all over the world to come and stay at that hospital.
You have a spider in your hair.
Fixing my hair.
No, it's a spider.
Spiders are good luck.
Yeah, they are. Try not to kill them, but anyway.
Anyway, so all of our programs adopt to the hospital that we're partnered with. I know in Bakersfield they have the burn unit.
He's still there. You just walked him in. Sorry. He's good luck though. All right.
You're gonna make me scream.
Live video.
Yeah. So I know in Bakersfield they have the burn unit. So it's a multitude of reasons families are there. Each program just adapts to what the true need is of the hospital.
That's cool, man. And then, so a little bit about the nonprofit and the funding side of things real quick. You guys just had a walk. So when we had Jacquelyn come in and talk with us, because we're applying for a humongous grant right now. Hopefully we get it in August, and we've done some small ones, and there's a lot of red tape that goes with grants, and you're kind of more you don't utilize grants, you go about things another way. How do you look at fundraising? And the reason I say that is because people might automatically think because you have Ronald McDonald attached to it that they're funding what you're doing.
Yeah, so a little bit of our history. 50 years ago, Eagles player Fred Hill in Philadelphia, he had a daughter with leukemia, and he partnered with the local McDonald's owner-operators, and all of the cells from the Shamrock Shakes that year opened our first Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia. So 50 years later, they didn't realize, we would have over 380 houses, over 260 family rooms all across the country and the world. And so now corporate sponsors, and they donate through their Roundup initiative. So anytime you go to McDonald's and you round up your change, it comes back to our local programs, as well as 2.5 cents from every Happy Meal. And then on top of that, our local owner operators, they donate further and support as well. So our local operators are the Passion Families, and they sponsor our Walk for Kids that you were talking about.
And if somebody wants to make a donation or check it out, go ahead. Right, Scotty, let them get it in right now. Like where would somebody, if they wanted to get involved?
They can find us at rmhcsc.org/Ventura Family Room, or our social media is Ventura RMFR, which stands for Ventura Ronald McDonald Family Room.
Is that on the gram? I'm posting you right now. I'm tagging you.
It is on the gram. Make sure you tag us.
Yep.
But yeah, we don't do a lot of grant writing. I have done some smaller grants. It's very time consuming, a lot of heavy information pulling. We do a lot of peer-to-peer fundraising, which is our largest community event, Walk for Kids. People get excited to raise funds for their teams, for themselves. This year we raised about $75,000 with our Walk for Kids.
Much?
So $75,000. Yeah, so we're doing really well.
And you just got a donation check the other night, right? After the chamber mixer?
So the National Charity League Juniors, they're an amazing group of girls out here. They host a gala every year that supports us as well as the cancer clinic next door. And they raised $65,000 for us. So getting closer to our budget's very exciting for us.
That's great. Can you tag yourself in that right there?
Yeah.
It's cool. We had somebody come in this last weekend that asked us if we were that wanted to become a donor. Her husband passed away, and she wanted to make a contribution to him. So today she actually sent me a notice asking for a wish list, what we do if we had a wish list. And it's kind of, and the reason I say that is because, like she said, she doesn't do a lot of grant. We've learned that grant writing, there is a lot of red tape. They want a lot of volunteer stuff. They do want more to it, but it's giving me a chance to practice my teaching style. So it has a purpose. It's just sometimes harder. We got an email yesterday from the state that they're short staffed, so our reimbursement check is being delayed because they got to get it taken care of. So you're waiting and watching the mailbox, and that's kind of a hard way to do business, right? To have to wait on the mailbox, to do it, where you guys stay a proactive approach. And being in Ventura, I think you got a really good surrounding of people that want to help support.
Yeah, we really do. It's been so amazing. There's so many ways to support: financial, by volunteering, or even like wish list drives like you were talking about. And we've had everyone from the Lions to the Rotaries to the county employees to people like Kevin Brannon support us out here in Ventura. So we've just been welcomed with open arms. And for me personally, it's so special because I'm third generation born and raised here in Ventura County. So to me, it's really special to bring this level of care to our county.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about Ventura County is that, we had our fundraiser on Sunday, and I think we raised about $20,000. We're going to do our final tallies up tomorrow, but we live in a place where you have so much community help that support each other, so I don't mind helping support yours, especially once I heard from the gentleman at Bass Pro, like what it really was,
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, again, Ronald throwing money at kids, that what really goes into it, but also how the families in the times of these critical times for a family to, be going through that, right? So that you have the patient that's getting the care, and then mom has to take off of work to be there while the kid's in the hospital, and what that looks like, because it could happen to any one of us,
Absolutely. And even, beyond the amenities and the services that we do provide, we also have free mental health care for all of our families. And I think that's one of the most important aspects. All of our volunteers on site are trained in grief and loss training. Yeah. So we find when a parent separates themselves from the child for the first time, once they're admitted, the parent is allotted time for themselves to process, this very scary time that they're going through. So
uncertain really times, nothing like uncertainty, right? In the hospital. And just for that, right? When you sit in a hospital, something about the smell and the sounds, the sound of the beeping, even if you're there just for like a cold or something, man, there's just this eeriness that can get into your body, right? Into your spirit, to be like, the hell's going on? So, you know what I mean? Like, and to have any type of peace that you can help with that, especially when it's your child that is there, then you want to, for those that have children, or even you don't have to have children, understand when you see children going through pain and stuff on what what that feels like on both sides. So it's a huge benefit that you guys are tackling,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, our space is beautiful. It does not feel like the hospital at all. We have these huge floor to ceiling windows. We can see the islands.
Did they cut the tree down yet?
Didn't cut the tree, but if you look, you could still see the water and the islands through the branches.
So I went to visit with her, right? Because one of the things that I do, if you hear me talk about this, is like seek wise counsel. And when you're in a director, a nonprofit, I've talked with, Roberto from Boys and Girls Club in Camarillo. And I used to talk with Bonnie from Food Share, but I do spend time talking to other CEOs and other directors to see what they're doing, check out their facility. How could we have same, if the strategies that we're working could be overlooked, can they be freshened up? So I went and visited with Jacquelyn at our facility, and when she opened up those curtains, you could see out there, but there was this one tree growing in the bush, in the window. And I was like, imagine if normally
cut it down.
Yeah, just because it was like, right, it's kind of obstructing some of the view. But it is a very nice facility. It's a very warm feeling, arts and crafts, books, like little things that, again, help people take their minds off of that time, and you would be surprised on, again, the little small gestures of sitting out, getting some coffee, coloring, something, watching the screen just to take your mind off of it is incredible. And I visited her spot to ask her questions and check it out. And I think this is like our third meeting. You came into our office like about 4 months ago, and you talked about the different ways you're running money. So we started a pledge that we did once those donors, and you get a chance to see. Did you work in nonprofit before this to get a grasp of it, or is this your first crack at nonprofit?
So it's my first crack at nonprofiteering. I always did service clubs in middle school, high school, and college, and then I did host smaller fundraisers for my private school and other things like that. So then I was an administrative assistant, and then after COVID I opened a small business with my friend, and then I was managing an ophthalmology clinic. So I kind of cherry picked from each of these different positions and threw it all together, and I've been doing this since, and I love it, and it's important, and I'm really passionate about it, and I think I'm decent at it.
No, you're pretty good. Your momentum is growing, here. Yeah. And that's one of the things is getting your momentum out, people seeing the cause and the mission and how active you are and spending your time at luncheons and breakfasts and those types of things to get your message out and get familiar with the community, because people could pop up and take off, and it happens in business, right? Because nonprofit, regardless, it's still a business, right? You still need a staff and employees and overhead. There's still so much that comes. It's not just a charity where it's going to run on smiles. It takes staff and it takes admin. So the reason I asked you that is, do you think it's changed nonprofit and fundraising since you were doing, your first fundraiser, as far as how you go about finding donors and stuff like that? I think it has. I've been a nonprofit with the Scouts, with Little League Baseball and Friends of the State Parks and Coastal Conservation Association. So I've been through different nonprofits, as president. So I understand that you got to get creative. It's not a one size fits all.
Yes, you have to get creative. And especially here in Ventura County, you definitely need to be involved in your community. I think what's changing is the level of transparency. Donors want to know where their money are going towards, and they're actually comfortable with funding things like overhead and staff salaries. We have a very small staff at our program. It's just me and my part-time assistant, which that comes up to be about 30% of our budget annually. The rest of it goes toward fundraising expenses, and then just to supply our room with what we need. So I think just providing that level of transparency is so important. And then I think something right now that is trending in nonprofits is, like you talked about, those smaller monthly donations. As the financial wealth gap just broadens, a lot of people can't afford to donate hundreds, thousands of dollars. So we like to do our Circle of Healing program, which is a monthly sustainer program of donations as small as $10 a month up to $100, $200, whatever it may be.
Yeah, we had a couple of those when we did our pledge, everything from $10 to $25 to $100 worth of monthly pledges and donations, which is neat. Have you had? There's a thing where I'm at with our nonprofit. I don't know if you had. Is there any funds that you won't take? Let me ask you as a director. Like me, I don't want to dance on anybody's strings, and there's certain things that we do in the fishing industry that might not, we fish, so some of the environmental stuff, we're not out saving whales and what we do.
Yeah.
So sometimes our mission, we don't just take anybody's funding because of, I don't want to get in bed with somebody where I'm, where did my funding going? I'm funding you, so I want it done this way. Has there any been a time where you don't have to say specifically, but where you wouldn't take, or you haven't, you walked away from somebody's funding because it just didn't seem fair, the realistic expectation that came with getting their money?
I think I haven't experienced that where it's not fair or realistic. I think making sure that your mission aligns and that they understand your program. I also think that, I don't think I've experienced that. I know we've had conversations of accepting financial donations from like cannabis dispensaries out here in Hueneme, which they have been so supportive of many programs. They're so supportive, but we have to be cognizant of like where we put that funding. I can't, put the funding towards our Walk for Kids and I have a huge booth to market towards these kids. So we kind of have to just be strategic. Maybe we then cultivate cannabis industry towards our Adopt the Room, where it's not so outward facing towards the
But kids. Now let me ask you this. So if West, Made West, alcoholic organization, wanted to give you a donation, would you let them have the same spotlight, or would you push them away for the same?
We would actually more likely we would take a cannabis dispensary donation over an alcohol donation, just because for our program and our alignment there is research and science backing the cannabis industry treating cancer. Whereas good. Medically there's not really a benefit to alcohol. So not that we don't want to support our friends at Made West. I love Made West. They're so
and I don't mean to put them on this. They're just a local one. I'm just using that name because they're the only local one that I have.
These are some of the conversations we have to have internally with our board and our CEO.
Okay, and it's nothing towards them at all versus cannabis, because we did get a HPC donation, and they said, hey, you don't have to tell anybody that you got it from us. They were more worried about how it looked because we're with kids. But I thought, if it's legal and people would take from a brewery, I'd rather pioneer again this new model of fundraising. They have to give the money back to the community. So I was just asking the question again. The reason I'm asking you these is so that people that are watching or listening could understand what we go through when we are looking for funding, right? What it looks like when you're going to make a donation, or what strategic plans you got, and how you don't have to take funding, or what those things that come. I want to call it pressure, but just some of the decisions that you have to make, again, when you're a nonprofit and trying to find funding.
Yeah, absolutely. And
and especially in today's era of nonprofit and fundraising,
Yeah, and it's really just having those open conversations. Although I did speak to my board about some of these donations that came up, I also had these conversations with the cannabis dispensary family and with, Made West Brewing Company or whatever. And so having those real conversations, they tend to appreciate that transparency, and they are always coming from an understanding space. And sometimes they're willing to donate in a family name instead of a business name.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So again, you got to get creative and you got to understand it. And I guess my on my side too, some of my stuff is just because I deal with environmental side of fishing.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be putting our name on things that are supporting putting sport boats out of industry while they're working on global warming and stuff like that, where we're fishing, and that could be detrimental to the recreational sport boat. So there's been times where I'm like, well, we really don't support that certain situation. But again, that's a little different in kids. But just wondering,
sense.
but having to say I won't take fund
about with your funding for sure.
That we don't have to take everybody's funding and be like, oh, you're a nonprofit, you have to take funding, and then people want to get in your pictures, and then it helps their PR. And that's another part of things that I've seen in fundraising. I don't know if you dealt with. Again, some of these are just honest questions. As dealing with another nonprofit is, people say they want to partner with it, and then you do a majority of the footwork, but it's a partner, and you're like, well, you kind of just wanted the PR.
Yeah, or even, I recently had a donation come in possibly for $20,000, and they really wanted to fund some sort of improvement in the space. But we've only been open for 18 months, so there's definitely not $20,000 worth of areas of improvement in the space. So I told them, to be honest with you, we're still building. We could absolutely use all of this funding towards, our general fund. But if you specifically want to provide improvements, unfortunately, we don't have anything to improve right now. We're, besides a broken Keurig, if anyone wants to send me one, we're doing.
You give out a lot of Keurigs for $20,000.
So it's just having conversations and really getting to know your donors.
So did they wait on that? Did they put it on pause, or did they let you put? The reason I'm asking, because I just had a lady again ask me a wish list.
Yeah.
And we have so many fishing poles. A lot of people want to donate gear to us, right? Like you say, we have things like rent and other things we need to pay for. So I was thinking, man, maybe like seed money, like it'd be, to have money in case something happened in an account that said, hey, we're going to draw from this account, kind of like just putting it in there. So if that person was to say, we'll give you $20,000, you say, well, look, right now we don't use it. Can we hold it and use it for this? Do you go back and try to fund that, or you just put them on pause, or they just pass through without, maybe next time they'll come back?
So for the specific one I was talking about, the $20,000 one, they actually ended up deciding we did need some repair on our washer and dryer. So they ended up splitting up that donation. But I did recently get granted the Julius Gias Memorial Foundation grant through the Ventura Rotary Club. And that all specifically, it was a larger amount, but it's specifically designed to last for the whole year to fill our fridge, freezer, and pantry. Yeah. And so they gave me one lump sum, and then I have X amount to use for that whole year. Yeah. So it's having those conversations and what people want to donate to. Some people are very specific with where they want to donate.
Yeah. It's funny this conversation comes up after I got that message. So what happened was we invited them in. They said, hey, we heard about you. And this is advocacy part, right? We'll talk about when other people are all talking about your program for you on your behalf. So, somebody went from the HBCA and did a presentation for this other coastal group that's in this area. She heard about us. Her husband passed away. She wants to make a donation. So I gave her a walk through the facility first, instead of just writing a check. Why don't you come in and see where your funding is going, what we're doing, because a phone call or the website really doesn't explain everything.
Yeah.
So she came in, and then we invited her Saturday to have lunch with us. So she had a burger and seen the kids from the Rangers were coming around. And then I gave her a ticket to the fundraiser, and she got to see how we're rolling there with the community. And then she sent me a message saying a wish list. So there's my budget for 2024. I'm going to highlight a couple of things on that, and then go back. We don't really need as much gear and stuff, and see, and have the conversation. But I think that's it. Having that open conversation.
Yeah.
Saying this is where our need is at. I wish I didn't have to stress over these things.
And the consistency of the conversation. You engaged that donor quite a few times. Sounds like you started with a phone call, brought them in for a tour, then brought them in for a fundraiser. So it's, and they stopped for the burger just to eat with our gut for them to see. You do have pretty tasty burgers, I've seen.
So let them see how we also, and then through that day, one of our lessons to this, one dad was like, Kevin, this is grilling and chilling. When are you going to chill? But this was one of my things in the Guppy Ranger program, is how even though I'm the director and the boss, that I'm the servant too. I'm serving you guys food, you know what I mean? So they could see no matter how big you get, you still got to scrub the feet like Jesus, you know what I mean? Like that's my terminology, but to be like, I'm still a servant back to my disciples, my little Guppy disciples. And she really got a kick out of that, and letting them see, again, because those are things that, how do you quantify that, right? That what you're teaching our kids and leadership and what they're doing through these different exercises versus just letting a piece of bait sit in the water, and let the donor see all that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the challenges of selling a good or a service versus a good, right? You're teaching kids, you're taking them out fishing, you're engaging them with marine life. I'm caring for families, providing them a safe space. So it's hard to quantify, these services, but I think if you can get people in to see what you're doing. And then we also do professional testimonial videos once a year. And so those are always extremely helpful, as well as some shorter ones for our social media. But really getting people into the program to see it. It can be hard to get them to get their booties over there to tour, but once they're in there, and I find, at least for my program, 50% of the time people have been affected positively by our program and have some sort of story or connection. So that helps us.
Is it just probably, like you said, the messaging to people to know that, again, a name as big as Ronald McDonald, what really goes on the inside, again, it's not funded by them. So that's why I like our platform here, and what we do is so important on getting people getting their messaging across of what it really does versus just a logo, and you don't know what it means or what they do, and have your own perception of, oh, they got it, versus, oh, I didn't know that this is what all that they do. And again, this can, you know what I mean? So
yeah. And even though, for us, we're a global organization, but all of our funding stays local. So the Ventura program is in charge of funding the Ventura program, and the Bakersfield program is in charge of
funding. Don't move, he's back. I found him. Look at, see him dangling right here? Look, swear to God. Look at the spider. So you can let him go.
He's a tiny little guy. So, but yeah, all of our funding is separate, and we're still building here in Ventura, and so the educational piece is so important, and that advocacy is really important, and that's why it's so crucial to build out a very strong and active board.
Good. Sorry, just get another. Forgot some filmmaking that we're working on to get more messages about that. We're going to give you some books to take back too. I want you to take some books for the kids to have over there.
And this is what I love about all the nonprofits getting together. I know you mentioned Food Share. They support us, help fill our pantry. We have our friends here at Real Guppies giving us books. We have our friends over at Sunny Horses that come and visit and give us plushies. So.
And you're on the Rolling Their podcast, man. You get to spread the word, and we get to network and shoot this out. Now, sorry, do want to jump in because you made it. Tell the people that listen, we always talk about networking within because we get a lot of business owners like, hey, how does that networking work? How do you get two questions in one, kind of, we gauge our success. Again, is this worth it? Like our chamber time, right? Like, how do we make sure that, again, as a nonprofit, we're not selling goods? Is that worth us putting the money in to be chamber members and going to breakfasts and stuff, right? But again, networking within the community and getting donations back is one. And it might not be day one, but the benefit. What is your benefit? And what do you tell the people that are listening, maybe other business owners and stuff, how important networking is for you to get out there and get comfortable in the community?
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, you just never know who you're going to cross paths with that, are going to be passionate advocates for your mission or major donors. So I spend time in the Chamber of Commerce. I spend time with Rotaries, with Lions Clubs. I try to present at any organization that I can.
I remember that circuit. It was fun.
It is fun. Yeah. It's like a dog and pony show.
Yeah, but you get there and you get to meet them, and then you might get somebody outside of just the Rotary making a donation that get a volunteer, right? Somebody that you speak in front of that, again, so you want to quantify that, right? Like if I get 100 volunteer hours from somebody that was in the crowd too to help, and I need volunteer hours, like people to help us. There's so many ways that one lunch, breakfast or something. And then this is the nonprofit side, but even with the chambers and going on the radio and doing different things to continue to preach that out among like business to business and then business to community.
Yeah, and it's really about that collaboration. You find ways, even though we're a nonprofit, we're kind of always asking for things, right? We find ways to support our local businesses. I know I am always shouting out VCCU because they are everywhere and they've supported us.
We gave out an award. They gave out an award at our fundraiser, Melissa Miller, on Saturday.
She's amazing.
She found out my nickname, Danjo. Thanks for spilling your guts at the freaking table, but that's another story. She's like, oh dog, and I was like, who told you that? Freaking Dan. Anyway,
and now that my eyes are open, like I see the VCCU logo everywhere. They support like my favorite Camarillo concert in the park where I live, and they support the Ventura County Fair, and same with Rotary. Like if you start to open your eyes, you see all of these businesses everywhere, and I don't think I've ever gone to a chamber breakfast and not left with something that I could use for our program. There's a wealth of support and volunteers and in-kind donation items for raffles and just all kinds of stuff. Everyone loves to get involved.
Is there any recent stories that you have right now or the last year that you want to share, like one or two that are like a testimonial of something that so people could hear that?
Yeah. So currently we have a family that they are staying with us until July. So they had their baby at 23 weeks. So he was very early, and he did not even weigh a pound when he was first born. They have a daughter and a son. I want to say they're 6 and 8, and so since baby's on the ICU floor, he's in an incubator, the kiddos don't get to go and visit him. And so our space in the family room, they have a favorite board game they've been playing called Avalanche. We'll put on Disney Plus, and it's just a happy space for these younger siblings to come in and to feel a sense of normalcy. The mom and the dad want to be right there with the baby in the NICU. Science shows that if the parents are there, if they're, speaking, if their scent is there, that the babies heal quicker. And so,
That's
it's
cool,
important.
Man.
Yeah, it's really important for them to be able to be close to the baby, but also have their other kiddos with them. And that's what we're there for. So we've been having so much fun with them. We've learned so much about them. One of the kiddos drew a new sign of our hours of operation. So that's definitely one of our more recent stories that we have going on. We had a family similar to that actually came back for our first year anniversary celebration. And it was so crazy to see, this little NICU baby, now almost a year old, just chubby cheeks full of life. So that's always fun. And then we have a couple of patients that are reoccurring with some chronic illnesses. And they've been reoccurring throughout their whole lives. And one of them is 12 now. And she said, she remembers before Ronald McDonald, and she says that, it's changed her life in the hospital since we show up every day. We've learned that she loves cup of noodles, so we take a little cup of noodles for her.
The little things, man. They count.
So we've learned about her because she's, a repeat patient in and out so much. So we've become a part of her family too.
It's probably neat for that reason because you have your doctors, right? And you have when they come in that they're working with, right? And to be treated, you keep, like you said, that term normalcy, right? Because they're going through this time and what their mind can be focused on when the doctor shows up with news or getting poked and prodded by their nurses, and going through the testing part, versus when they're done, that you guys come in there and have a normal conversation. It's not so medically, everything is medically.
And we kind of survey the situation, a family, they don't know what they need. They just want their kid to be healthy in that moment. So we'll kind of go in, we look around.
Yes, that's probably their biggest priority at that time, right?
So I'll kind of take a peek. I'll drop off some water bottles, drop off a coloring book, maybe some face wash, just anything that's small that they could need. We have it. And those little things just really mean so much to them in the moment. Can you imagine not having deodorant for a few days in the hospital? So these little things really, really help the families and the morale on the floor of the ICU. Right. We're the first Ronald McDonald program in the nation to partner with a county hospital. And it's not only affected the morale of the families and the patients, but it's, like you said, affected the morale of the nursing staff and the doctors. And we've just become so paired with UCMC. They're like,
right?
We're a vibe.
Yeah, I seen them walk through with a cart, and doing that again when those workers are just so, again, tied into their patients, right? For them to take a brain break, right? And just stop and enjoy a snack. I mean, for real, when you're just, my lady is she's a vet tech, at an ER, so different hospital, but some days she just gets it handed to her, she says, because there's so much that patient after patient and what's going on. So for you guys even to tend to their needs for a short break, to exhale for a minute, and then the days when it's not like that, to just to shoot the breeze, and just to see that, you know, and they could count on you for that. That's what I mean about the morale, just knowing that, you know.
It's been so special.
The vibe part, I mean.
And even vice versa. Recently, I was at VCMC, and I've been battling with my age. I'm almost 30, but I threw out my back for the first time. And our pediatric nurses I texted one of them and I said, I don't know what's happening, but I'm in a lot of pain. And they came running and like they took so much care of me. It was right before our walk for
kids. You got that VIP.
Yes. So we've really just become family to VCMC, and it's been so rewarding.
So we're going to say this to you guys right now listening. The more you give, the more you get. That's kind of been our motto for about the last month working out of the schools, especially in volunteerism, man. The more you give, the more you get. That's what we tell our kids in there, right? So you're given and you're given, and then the one time you needed something, look how they came to your rescue in their aid, you know. So there's so much to giving. And I tell people a nonprofit, it doesn't pay a whole lot, but it's a deposit to the soul, whether you're volunteering or working for one. There's just something about giving, man, and watching those smiles that have you get up out of bed every day, right? And go do this and have that passionate about it. Because nonprofit's kind of, again, that's a wonky but business model that you have to do, like you say, the show and dance all the time. But when you see those smiles and you see the faces, and from the nurses all the way down to the, you know, to your, that's what keeps you driven.
Yeah. And we have an amazing staff of volunteers that do the in-hospital volunteering every day. Most of them have been there for the past 18 months since we opened. I think all but 3, and I have 18 of them. So you can just tell that their level of passion and their level of you know, just internal, they feel good about it. They feel good to be there, and they're happy to be there.
That's what's up. All right, so we're going to finish up with this last part. Congratulations. Looks like you got engaged, right? We're going to throw it out there.
I did.
Yeah, look at that.
Thank you.
You got the engagement couple up here right now. I did, I think 2 months ago myself. And
congratulations to you too.
Thank you. And it's important to have that support, man. When I gave my, when we did our fundraiser the other day, and because, you know, leading up, we had 2 fundraisers, an open house, stuff that I got to deal with here, you know, growing, staffing, all kinds of stuff that, you know, it could get nerve-wracking. And to come home and try to leave it in the car, and sometimes you got things on your mind that you're working on, you know, and the person to be like having to deal with it, you know, the ports at home is important too, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, my partner, he convinced me to actually take this position with Ronald McDonald.
Justin's his name, right?
Dustin. Close. He gets that all the time.
Yeah, Dustin. Shout out to Dustin, man.
Yeah, and then I always say, you know, he's one of my best volunteers. He's there on the weekends moving stuff for me. He comes to put on his monkey suit and go to the galas with me. So he's really supportive, and I know, you know, your lady is so supportive, and it's really important to have, you know, we provide the safe space for others to have our own safe space. So I'm glad we both found that.
My lady too will tell me, like, fix that. What's wrong with you? And I'll be like, well, I got an email that this was going on. And she'll be like, well, you know, just to make sure that especially as guys, you know, when you talk about the mental health part or whatever, is like, no, everything is just fine. I have it all together. Nothing to worry about. But I'm wearing something's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, what's wrong? You know, and being like, you know, pray through it, or, you know, just want to let you know that you're starting to act, you know, a little richer, she'll call me, you know, because I just have it going. And it's not for her, but to be acknowledged, so that way I'm not taking it out on my staff or what I'm doing. Because in these roles that we have with these volunteers and the staff that we have, to be empathetic to understanding the stress that comes with it, and not to, you know, let that get to you, and then that spreads. So that's one of the things my lady helped me with, is just to make sure that if I'm wearing it, to be like, you know, let it go or leave it in the car. Because being as a founder myself too, that I could wear it till like 9 o'clock at night, you know what I mean? Bring it home and not turn it off, and write to emails in the morning. So it's given me a chance to leave kind of work at work, and at home, and not bring it there and try to act like everything is perfect and stuff, you know? So, and you need that. I don't know if it's a balance, but for our own psyche, we do need to know when to disconnect and let that happen, you know?
Absolutely.
So you don't get drained and burned out and exhausted, you know?
Becomes your whole life.
Yeah, so welcome to Nonprofit. Again, that's a little bit of nonprofit talk right here. We'll have Jacquelyn back probably every 6 months or so, just to either talk about events. Do you have any events coming up? We post these within a couple of days. Or anything you want to share, or, you know, get all your information out there?
We don't have any more events left this year. We are super heavy in the spring, but please keep the date for our spring 2025 walk for kids. Free for kiddos. It's a fun family event.
I pitched in on it. We were going to go, but my daughter turned 26, and the night before, she's like, we're having brunch tomorrow at this spot. So I had to bail on you last minute, but we did get a couple spots. But definitely something that we do support. And I recommend that you guys support it too. This is very simple. Again, different types of donation levels, and again, if they do it a fun way of you guys also put the fun in fundraiser like we do, not just to sit lunch and, we know what we're here for, pass the plate around and go home. Like, you have to have exciting fun that people want to come back to and tell their friends about, and it grows every year, right?
Absolutely. And that's, we're really in that growth period.
Yeah. Well, you're growing, man. Again, I've seen you from where we met, you came to our ribbon cutting, right? Our first open house.
Yeah.
And then that's where we met, and you were with Melissa Miller that night from VCCU. And again, that's where it turns into be able to call that person and say, hey, as a director, can you give me some tidbits and advice? And then, able to get it out with somebody that understands the same pressures or the things that we go through. And again, that's part of networking. That's part of our community. And then seeing, again, you put together these great fundraisers and understanding, that your budget is there, and sometimes you might not hit it, but you're going to keep trying for it, and you still have to get the job done with what you have, and you understand all that, and to see you continue on it as happy as you are and watching you grow is just, always support other people's success, man. There's an abundance out here for all of us nonprofits. I don't got to try to stash certain grants so somebody doesn't steal it from me like I thought when I first started and stuff, and just letting you know, but this nonprofit racket, people that you're listening to, it is a business. It's a different kind of business. So if you're going to donate from your heart and know that the mission and the vision of that said organization is doing the right things, don't be scared to give and help, whether it's monetarily, of your time. We could use it all. So again, just reconsider how we look at nonprofits and the valuable work that they play and the things they have to go on when you are giving, and have an open heart and mind on that they're going to do what they say they're doing. And right now I feel like everybody is pretty much playing by that and finding new ways to do it and stay in business.
Absolutely.
That was that was a heck of an exit. Scotty, what you got? Anything?
No, I'm good. Jacquelyn, thank you. That was terrific.
Thank
you do great work, so please keep that up. And give us your Instagram and your website again.
Yes, so our Instagram is Ventura RMFR, and then our website is rmhcsc.org/Ventura Family Room.
Cool. So check them out. Kevin, take us out.
We'll see you next time. Any motivation for the week? Again, just don't give up, man. I was teaching the kids that today. We go through this little dot to dot. Sometimes you just got to remember to stick to your dot to dots, man. 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 7. Don't jump over to 7, miss 6. Go back and catch it. Don't go from 1 to 9. Don't try to avoid it. Trust the process. Go dot to dot, step by step. And if you need a little bit of help, don't be afraid to ask somebody for their services, and being vulnerable enough to let down your guard and ask for help in the areas that you need help in. All right.
We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Let's go.
The Real Angler Podcast with community Kevin Brannon is brought to you by Daiwa. If you want innovation and quality in your fishing products, Daiwa has what you need. Costa Sunglasses. Discover life's greatest adventures with Costa. Built to look good and be tough. Promar and Ahi USA. Premium fishing products and accessories with concepts developed by passionate anglers. Channel Island Sport Fishing. Offering deep sea fishing on quality sport fishing charter boats. And more. Mossy Oak. From hot days in the water to sweltering afternoons in the woods, we've got you covered. Outfit your obsession. The Latino Business Expo, Ventura County's largest networking event. Special thanks to Bruce at Kirby Subaru in Ventura. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.